It's something that I feel like perhaps connected with the rise of social media is an aspect that's always been part of the arts but seems to be increasing, which is the experience of arts not just as an aesthetic experience but also as a social experience.
I personally have a real love-hate relationship with this whole thing. And Julie Taymor, actually, the director of Spider-Man, at the theatre conference in Los Angeles this weekend, she talked about that. While she was trying to create this work, she didn't have the privacy of creating it. Once they went into preview, which of course on Broadway, they go into preview as soon as they can, she didn't have any privacy to create that work. Every day, somebody on the blogosphere or whatever the tweety twatty things or whatever those things are, they were saying, this sucks, this is terrible, this is awful. And I know that several of friends of mine who are directors find the intimidation of that. It's bad enough that we have to, on opening night, people like you come along and judge us, and that's okay. We deal with it in our own way. We've little dolls we stick pins into at times. But before you open, when you're trying to put the work together, and we're in the final stages of previews for HMS Pinafore, which opens on Friday. If somebody had seen that on the first preview on Saturday night and gone on, they may indeed have done. Don't tell me if they have. They may have gone on and said, "This sucks. This is terrible. Don't go and see it." So this bothers me, I have to be honest. So while I think there's a tremendous advantage in social media in lots of ways for theatres and for the arts to communicate more readily with the public, I think this should be a two-way street, and I would love to see people in these blogospheres, is that how you say it? But I'd love to see people being a little more generous and giving to allow artists the opportunity to finish the work.
I could jump in there, though.
Yeah,
I agree with much of what you said, although one thing I have learned, my staff has encouraged me to consider, is that the audience usually corrects itself, and so when somebody writes, "This was terrible, don't go and see it," there's usually 6 people afterwards who write, "Oh no, you're wrong, such and such," and so the discussion does actually become moderated by the common sense of the crowd, even though you have some fringe people.
I think that's probably true, that there are those who love it, but it's more, and I suppose it's more the psychological effect on those creating the production that I'm talking about. It's a very delicate time as you come up to opening. People are vulnerable, particularly when they're trying to create something new and different. And I think that's what I'm saying is the cruelty of the anonymous blogger can hurt a great deal, and not just ego, and ego is a vital thing for everybody. It's not just ego, it's actually the creative process that sometimes it can hurt, because the producers, the Spider-Man's a very good case in point. I mean, the producers panicked because this was coming at them hot and heavy, and they were demanding changes. And I think Julie Taymor is one of the great theatre artists worldwide. I think she's an extraordinary artist, from the work that she's done in off-Broadway and the work she did sort of in alternative theatre through to The Lion King, through to the movies. I mean, she's a real major artist, and she was sort of torn down. And I just found that kind of, and I haven't seen the show, so I don't know if it's good, bad, or indifferent, but I just think that there's a vulnerability about the creation of art, whether it's performance art or it's visual art, that in some ways you can easily destroy. And it's not to say that criticism isn't important, it is, and once a play has opened or a piece has gone before the public, then it's fair game and we have to take whatever lumps we get. But before it opens, I don't think it's fair. Sorry.